What if everything you've been searching for is already available to you? What if the feeling of being incomplete isn't something you fix by adding more, but by understanding what you already have? And what if true strength doesn't come from striving harder, but from standing firmly in something unshakable? There's a quiet struggle many people carry, a sense that something is missing. It shows up in different ways, chasing success, approval, knowledge, control. Always reaching, always adding, always trying to become more. But what if the problem isn't that you don't have enough? What if the problem is that you don't realize what you already have? This is where the message becomes clear. Just as you received Christ, continue to live in Him. Not just starting with Him, continuing in Him. That means something deeper than belief. It means direction, foundation, a way of living that is rooted, built, and strengthened from one source. Imagine a tree. Its strength doesn't come from what you see above the ground. It comes from what's beneath it. Roots, hidden, deep, connected. That's the image being described. Rooted in Him, built up in Him, strengthened in the truth, overflowing with gratitude. This is not about surface-level change, it's about structure. Because when something is truly rooted, it doesn't collapse easily. It doesn't shift with every pressure. It doesn't lose stability when conditions change. And that's the kind of life being described here. But then comes a warning, a necessary one. Be careful, because not everything that sounds wise is true. Not everything that feels deep is meaningful. There are philosophies, ideas, perspectives that sound convincing, that promise insight, growth, or freedom, but they are built on human thinking, not on truth. They depend on tradition, assumptions, and systems that may appear strong, but lack a real foundation. And the danger is subtle. Because these things don't always look wrong. They can seem intelligent, advanced, even spiritual, but if they are not connected to what is real, they lead nowhere. This is where clarity matters. Because it's easy to drift, easy to be influenced, easy to build your life on something that doesn't hold. And the message here is simple. Stay anchored, because in Him, all the fullness of God lives in bodily form. All fullness, not partial, not limited, everything. And here's the key part. In Him, you've been brought to fullness. Not will be, not might be, have been. This changes everything, because it means completeness is not something you earn. It's something you receive. You are not trying to become complete. You are living from completeness. And that shifts the entire mindset, from striving to standing, from chasing to trusting, from insecurity to confidence. Because if fullness already exists in Him, and you are in Him, then you are not lacking. You are not missing something essential. You are not incomplete. But there's more. He is the head over every power and authority, which means nothing stands above Him. No system, no force, no influence. Everything falls under His authority. And that means your identity is not defined by external powers. It's not controlled by circumstances. It's not limited by what others think or say. Because the source you are connected to is above all of that. Then the message goes deeper into transformation. It describes something that happened internally. A kind of cutting away, not physical but spiritual. A removal of what once defined you. Old patterns, old identity, old ways of thinking, not through effort, but through what He has done. Then it speaks of being buried with Him in baptism and raised with Him through faith. This is a powerful image. Death and life, ending and beginning, letting go and stepping into something new. It's not just about change. It's about transformation at the core level, because something old has been left behind and something new has been given. And then comes one of the most powerful statements: you were dead in your sins. But now you have been made alive. Alive, not partially restored, not slightly improved, fully alive. And this life comes with forgiveness. All sins, not some, not most, all. This is complete restoration. Nothing left hanging, nothing unresolved. Everything addressed, everything covered. But there's another layer. It says that the record of debt has been cancelled. Think about that. Every failure, every mistake, every moment that created separation, cancelled, not ignored, not hidden, removed, taken away, nailed to the cross. This is final, this is complete. And then something even greater is revealed. The powers and authorities, the forces that accuse, that hold people in fear, that create pressure, have been disarmed, stripped of their power, exposed, defeated, publicly, not quietly, not secretly, but openly. And this matters. Because it means the things that once held influence no longer have authority. Fear, guilt, shame. They lose their grip because the foundation has changed. The source has changed. The identity has changed. And this brings everything back to the central message. You are complete in Him, not because of what you've done, but because of what has already been done. And the challenge is to live from that truth. Not to forget it, not to drift away from it, not to replace it with something else. Because the world will always offer alternatives, more knowledge, more effort, more systems, more steps. But none of them can provide what is already available, fullness. That's the difference. It's not about adding more. It's about recognizing what's already there and living from it. Because when you truly understand this, everything changes. Your mindset shifts, your priorities realign, your sense of identity becomes stable. You stop trying to prove yourself, you stop chasing validation, you stop building on unstable ground, and you start living from a place of security, confidence, clarity. Not because life becomes easy, but because your foundation becomes strong. And when your foundation is strong, you can face challenges differently. You can handle pressure differently. You can move through uncertainty without losing direction. Because you're not relying on what changes, you are connected to what doesn't. That's the power of this message. Not just to inform, but to stabilize. Not just to inspire, but to anchor. And in a world that constantly pushes for more, this message offers something different. Enough, not in a limiting way, but in a complete way. You are not lacking. You are not behind. You are not missing something essential. If you are in Him, you are full. And that is something worth holding on to. Something worth remembering. Something worth building your life on. Because when everything else shifts, that truth remains. Unshaken, unchanged, and always available. Thank you for watching this video. If this message helped you see your life from a new perspective, don't forget to like, follow Holy Path Insights, and share this video so others can discover this powerful truth too.